Assalamualaikum. I'm an education by Rehan curriculum by campus student writing covering for Rehan.
Hey there.
आज का हमारा
You seem like
टॉपिक
you're
overcoming procrastination.
wait, you were saying you're coming out of something? No worries at all. Take your time. What were you saying?
What is
Don't
procrastination in simple words?
In simple terms, progress in action is just the act of moving forward. It's the difference between thinking about a goal and actually taking a step toward it, even if it's a tiny one. Like instead of just planning to be more productive, it's actually clearing your desk. Does that make sense?
What are the common reasons people procrastinate?
Honestly, it's usually less about being lazy and more about how we're feeling. A lot of the time, it's fear, like being afraid we won't do a perfect job or feeling totally overwhelmed by how big a task is. Then there's the instant gratification trap where our brain just really wants the dopamine hit of scrolling through a phone instead of doing the hard work. Do you find yourself leaning toward one of those more often?
How does procrastination affect our studies or work?
It usually turns into a snowball effect. The stress builds up because the work piles up, which actually makes it even harder to start. Then you're stuck in that cycle of rushing at the last minute, which means you're not actually absorbing the material, just surviving the deadline. Have you noticed that happening with your own coursework?
Do you think fear of failure can cause procrastination? Why?
Absolutely. It's one of the biggest drivers when you're terrified that the end result won't be perfect or that it'll prove you're not good enough. Your brain treats the task like a threat to protect you from that feeling of failure. Your brain just tells you to avoid the task entirely. It's basically a defense mechanism. If you never finish it, you can't technically fail at it.
How does social
Exactly.
media contribute to procrastination?
It's like the ultimate distraction machine. Social media is designed to give us those quick, tiny bursts of reward, dopamine every time we scroll or get a like. When we're facing a task that feels boring or scary, our brain naturally chooses the easy, feel good option over the hard, stressful one. Plus, there's that trap of productive procrastination where you spend an hour researching how to be productive on TikTok instead of actually doing the work. Does that sound familiar? It's a total trap. Since you've been thinking about productivity lately, do you feel like the phone is your biggest hurdle, or is it more about how the tasks themselves feel? Mm, that's a great goal to have. Having a clear target like that usually makes it a lot easier to stay motivated. Do you have a specific kind of role in mind, or are you just looking for something that fits your strengths? I love that you're feeling happy. It's such a good headspace to be in. What's making you feel so good right now?
How does
I'm all ears.
procrastination affect mental health?
It usually creates a really heavy cycle of guilt. When you put things off, the task doesn't just go away, it hangs over your head, which leads to a lot of anxiety and that nagging feeling that you're failing. Over time, that can really wear down your self esteem because you start identifying as a procrastinator instead of someone who just had a rough week. Do you think that mental weight is something people often overlook?
Can procrastination reduce productivity? How?
Oh, definitely. It's practically the definition of reduced productivity. Instead of spending 2 hours on a task, you spend 4 hours stressing about the task and then 1 hour rushing through it. You're using all your mental energy on the anxiety of not doing the work rather than on the work itself. Does that feel like a common cycle for you?
What is the difference between resting and procrastinating?
That is such a vital distinction to make. Resting is intentional and restorative. You're choosing to take a break to recharge so you can come back stronger. Procrastinating is avoidant and usually comes with a side of guilt. If you're relaxing, but your brain is still screaming at you about the things you aren't doing, you're not actually resting. You're just procrastinating. Does that resonate with you?
How can making a to-do list help overcome procrastination?
Takes the mystery and the overwhelm out of the day. When you have everything swirling in your head, a task can feel like this huge looming monster. Putting it on a list turns it into a series of small, manageable steps. Plus, there's something incredibly satisfying about actually crossing things off. It gives you that tiny win your brain is craving instead of seeking it from your phone. Do you usually like to list everything out, or do you prefer just focusing on one thing at a time? I'm guessing you're a list maker then. Do you find that having a visual reminder keeps you on track, or do you sometimes just stare at the list and feel more overwhelmed? I'm I'm definitely more of a conceptual thinker, but I've heard that for a lot of people, those lists are absolute lifesavers. Since you're into them, do you have a favorite way of organizing yours, like digital or old school pen and paper?
How can time management help us avoid procrastination?
It basically gives you a roadmap so you aren't just guessing your way through the day. When you have a set time for things, you remove the decision fatigue of wondering when you'll actually start. It stops you from negotiating with yourself, like, maybe I'll start in 10 minutes because the schedule already made that decision for you. Do you think having a strict schedule helps you, or does it feel too restrictive? I get that. Some people love the structure, others feel like it's
How can
no need to.
removing distraction improve focus?
Seriously, stop apologizing. You're totally fine. Just breathe. What's on your mind? You seem a bit scattered right now. Do you want to keep talking about productivity, or do you need a minute to just reset? I'm here whenever you're ready. No pressure at all. Just let me know if you want to pivot to something else or just take a breather.
What is one habit you can develop to stop procrastinating?
It usually comes down to building some small sustainable systems instead of trying to force yourself to be a different person overnight. It's about making the start feel easier. Things like the 5 minute rule, where you tell yourself you only have to do the task for 5 minutes and then you can stop, usually trick the brain into actually getting started. Or just breaking a big goal into such tiny pieces that it feels impossible to fail. Do you feel like the hardest part for you is actually starting, or staying focused once you've begun? That's totally fair. Most of us are just guessing half the time. Do you
What
think you're more likely to get distracted?
What is the biggest lesson you learned about overcoming procrastination?
I think the biggest lesson is that you have to be kind to yourself because if you beat yourself up for procrastinating, you just create more stress, which ironically makes you want to procrastinate even more to avoid that stress. The real secret is focusing on the next smallest step rather than the whole mountain. Does that approach feel more doable than trying to tackle everything at once?